Hello everyone, Spanners here. Join me as we look back at the action for the last 3 races of the latest Missed Apex iRacing series. It was a thrilling evening and I'm looking back to watching this with you as we line up for the Formula 4 race. So Stephen Williams has qualified in pole position with Henny, Power and Cook behind in Snodderland from the gold class, doing really well to get up to 5th, with Gill, Ellis, Flagg, Smith, Coig making up the top 10. Green Owl probably would have wanted to be a little bit higher. The wild kicking Bronco of Tero Tylus in 12th place, with the familiar side-to-side grid positions of Colin Ward and me, Spanners. Trumpets and Nick Alexander bring up the rear here. There's still a lot to play for. There's 3 drivers, so it's Williams, Power and Henny competing up front. It does look like Alex Smith has sealed up the gold title as well, but a disastrous round for him could leave it wide open. Now remember, I'm not a commentator, so reduce your expectations as the lights go red. It's begun. The cars are getting away and Danny Henny makes a good start but slots in inside, so he's taking up the position where he says, I want to get the best possible line through Abbey, as does Kyle Power, and it's all very well behaved through Abbey as they enter the village complex. So it does look like Henny on the outside there, trying to just get a cut back and get good position. He does prefer the slightly wider approach here. Kyle Power as well with a watching, stalking brief, but Williams is in command and in control. Let's see who's that in the silver car. That's James Gill trying to make a play for James Cook up the front as well. And Danny Henny has a run down into the Brooklands Luffield sort of complex there. And it's the top 3 title contenders qualifying up front and dominating the race from the very start. It's a scruffy way around Luffield there for Williams, but it's not quite enough to give the cars behind a chance to get forward. So settle in then. Like I said, I'm not all Chris Stevens-y. I'm just sitting here with a cup of tea the day after. Exciting action here though, as Snodderland really, I think, is having a qualifying position unfamiliar to him and a race pace to match it as well. Tim Ellis and Alex Smith behind. Andy Flagg in the pink, coming up in 9th place as well. Kyle Power. At this point in the championship, Danny is absolutely the favourite. Stephen Williams has actually been the more consistent performer, but we do have, because we've all got lives, a dropped round. So that means that Stephen Williams loses 91 points from having to drop his round, whereas Danny Henny only dropped about 40, and the same for Kyle Power as well. So consistency not rewarded with the dropped round here. However, at the moment, if they were to finish in this position in all 3 races, it would be Danny Henny who would be crowned champion. Now, Danny is not an impatient driver, neither is Kyle Power, so they will both have been very pleased for Williams to have a good pace and extend the pack out. And the top 5 now have broken away. Williams, Henny, Power, Gill and Cook, as Danny Henny goes on the inside of Abbey. That doesn't always go well. He leaves a lot of room on the inside there, and also Stephen Williams makes sure that on the outside he is using all the track as well. So good, clean racing, as James Gill also makes his way past Daniel Cook. So Stephen Williams now, actually, of those top 3, has looked the scruffier, and now James Gill is taking advantage, and Kyle Power here, he's got the risk reward to think about. He's got the championship possibility on the line, so I doubt if he's going to shut the door here on James Gill. And in fact there, Gill with the asymmetric black and white car does get up the inside, but Kyle Power down the inside of Luffield. There you go, because he's a lot older. That's 35 extra years of experience. Well, it's not quite that many. James Gill still in the hunt on the overlap, as now Stephen Williams uses this as an opportunity to settle himself and get up behind Danny Henny. So maybe a little bit of early race nerves there. Look at the quality from Uncle Steve as he gets on board. Oh, I do love a good onboard. Daniel Cook up the inside of, up the outside here as well. Well, the inside and outside swaps a lot through Maggots and Beckett's, doesn't it? Unfortunately, if you're on the inside there, you can't quite pin it near flat out like you need to in that first right-hander. Gorgeous video of that. Daniel Cook in P5, really hanging on, and his pace was phenomenal all through practice. Really putting himself up there with the top guys, as James Gill sets about ruining Kyle Power's charge up front by being very racy. has also become a lot less crashy and a lot more consistent in recent rounds as well. You still don't want him anywhere near you, to be fair. Lad's far too good. A slide from Kyle Power then not only gives Gill some breathing room, but that's Cook and Snodland now. That's Daniel Cook in the yellow cockpit that we're seeing here up the inside, and then James Gill. Oh, so who was that ahead of Kyle Power then? Oh, that was Stephen Williams ahead then, able to get going. So Kyle does not lose a position from that slide, but does cause a little bit of chaos behind. Snodland all the way around the outside of Cook. Fantastic racing from the, I don't know, Swede or Norwegian or maybe Danish? I don't know. Stephen Williams now settling in 0.3 seconds to Danny Henney on lap 3 of this 11-lap race. No pit stops to worry about. And I think, as much as we love the pit stops, they did rob us of some racing up and down the grid as people would pit out of the way if they were behind. Now you have to do it the hard way. iRacers in this series, stay tuned. Surveys will be coming out to find out what we want to get that grid nice and packed up for the next 6-round series. In the background there, Daniel Cook fighting off Daniel Snodland, and then getting a bit of a run on Kyle Power. James Gill now looking to have a little bit of a handle on that 3rd place. Not under immediate threat, but in the F4, if you fight, especially around a track like Silverstone, you are bleeding lap time. You can go side by side for the whole race, for the whole lap. You absolutely can. But look what happens. There is now a gap of a second opening up to James Gill up front as this commentator takes a slurp of his coffee. Black, no sugar. Snodland going into Stowe. A better line, you have to say, than the guys ahead. And Kyle Power takes an aggressive line. Cook just losing out there by perhaps being in the wash of Kyle Power. And that's enough to give Snodland a run. It's not actually the nicest place to overtake down the inside into Vale, because you do make a mess of things as you then try and go, which way around is it? Club and Vale? I don't know. Chicanes are stupid anyway. And who's this in the hunt? Smith. Oh, Smith. And Smith is a very aggressive overtaker. If he gets a sniff, he will take it. And he's dragging, I think that's Andy Flagg and Jose Coig up behind him. Well, let's see, yeah. Smith doesn't require a second invitation. So now it's looking like it's Cook who's under pressure, and it's Kyle Power who finally gets a little bit of relief here in the race. And that's not where he wants to be, because Kyle's got the pace to be pushing up front. Ah, there's Colin Ward. And the best livery of the entire championship behind him there. That's, I can't quite make it out. It's blending into the background. That's my car. That's me racing and commentating. Don't overthink it. At this point, though, I can tell you, we were having conversations, because it's actually quite emotionally draining to push to catch up to the guys ahead. So we were taking turns. As soon as one of us was losing concentration and was starting to kind of bleed off a bit of pace or lose track, we would just, right, get in the tow. If you've got to run, just go for it. If you've got to run, just go for it. And in that way, we actually saved ourselves from the cars behind. And this is Andreas Marafakaini behind Mulder. I should have practiced that. Oh, look at that, off tracks. He doesn't care, does he? Race control? Race control, control thyself. I think that's protestable. Ahead of them, Moreland, who is a fierce midfield competitor. Definitely, you know, off the top pace, but if you find yourself behind him, you are in a fight. As Jose Coig up the inside of Andy Flagg. Andy Flagg used to be much more consistent in this series. We've missed him, but he's always quick, always competitive, and a very lovely man. Well, on Discord. Might be an utter get offline, you don't know. Very competitive train and pace all the way from Alex. Well, in fact, look at that train now. It goes all the way from Cook, conceivably down to where Spanners is, are all in that same fight for 5th place as things settle down up the front. Alex Smith down the inside into Village. Can he find a way around the outside of the loop? It's more about a cutback here and see if he can get on the power. I think he might have had to lift there to avoid hitting the back of Snodland. And now Cook is under massive pressure. Surely there is no way that Cook can hold on down here into Brooklands as Steve uses the follow or the chase camera angle. Not available in real life, but we get to see it here. And there's contact, and that is Daniel Cook has gone round with Snodderland, and that is not the way for those races to end. Oh my goodness, I don't know if we're going to get a replay of that, but it looks like maybe it was Cook just turning in a little bit on two cars. That's unlucky, because you turn in thinking, well, maybe Snodderland should give me more room on the inside, but there was a car on the inside. It's very, very unlucky. As we see Alex Smith now left alone with Andy Flagg. Smith then round the outside. I think this is through Maggots and Beckett's, with Jose keeping track behind. You can follow more closely on these, but as you can see there, Jose just getting a little bit out of shape. You lose it, and that looks like track limits to me, Mr. Coig. Smith right in the gearbox then of Andy Flagg into Stowe. That's a wonderful place to do it, and it is a place where in these cars you can try and hold around the outside and carry more speed, but I think you're the favourite on the inside here, and it doesn't look like Flagg's got enough of a run to take a lunge down as Smith takes a defensive line, so it would be unwise to do so. You have to bide your time and hope you can get a better exit out towards Abbey. But it looks like Smith has done enough, so fantastic defensive driving there from Smith. And well done to the broadcast for keeping track of this exciting battle. Up front, it's pretty static with Danny Henney 7/10 up ahead of Stephen Williams, with James Gill and Kyle Power in no man's land as Jose goes for Andy Flagg down the middle into farm. That is into the village. That is a very difficult place to attempt an overtake. And it's very, very hard to then get the power down in the dirty air as well as you go back onto the Wellington Straight. On the wing then of Jose, will Andy Flagg be able to take a defensive position? It looks like he's just inviting Jose to say, well, I'm going to take that racing line. It's up to you if you want to risk it. And I think Jose not quite getting enough of a tow, with Flagg also in the tow of Alex Smith up ahead. Smith commanding the gold championship at this point. And I think it's Spanners there in second place. That's me. And I'm well out of it. Off pace in the F4, more on pace in the F3, and nowhere in the Super Formula, which will coincidentally never be part of this championship again. Nothing to do with my lack of pace on it. The thing is impossible. Terro the Terror behind Miguel Morland. Definitely one of the quicks in this part of the pack. He's probably underqualified himself in the race here, or had an incident to find himself in 15th, but dispatches Moreland as he heads over to Marafakani. There we go. Colin Ward! It looks like I've done an interesting and exciting overtake, but we were chatting the whole time, and I've basically got a run on him, and he said, yeah, I think I'm out of puff. You go ahead now. And eventually, you know, I think I did that at the beginning as well. It was a very cooperative venture between me and Colin after we actually came together going into Cops on lap 1. I think we both decided, let's be sensible. And Daniel Cook behind, who was up front, and that's why Daniel Cook was behind us. He was involved in that incident. So he was quicker. He must have avoided damage because he was definitely quicker than me and Colin. And so now it was a case of me and Colin working together. We knew we couldn't catch the guys up front. So we said, right, let's make sure. Whoa, look at that. That is Jose. And who else is off track? Somebody else has hit the return to pits button. But it looks like that's going to be Jose and Flagg, perhaps. No? Let's have a look. Yes, it is. It's Flagg, who looks to connect with the gearbox. And that is Tim Ellis as well, who gets caught up in that. That looked, unfortunately, that did look like Flagg just catching the end and spinning Hoig around. Who are we on board with now? This is Flagg then, who's escaped all that and is pushing Snodderland, and up ahead is Mark Greenhow, incredibly fast. Maybe not so consistent. Incredibly fast Greenhow, whose pace now on his day is top pace. Trained, of course, from the Henney stable. Colin Ward sniffing around the gearbox of the compliant Spanners. We can see the cars ahead, so that gap keeps staying around that 2-second mark, which gives us hope. But I will say, like, I wish we could get into the heads in another series of the drivers and talk to the drivers who are willing to talk. Because me and Colin, we were really, even though we were being cooperative, we were pushing our hearts out to catch the group ahead who weren't cooperating, and the gap was staying pretty static, which shows, you know, we were doing a good job of trying to hunt down a better or a faster group of drivers. The gap at the head staying pretty static, but those two pulling ahead of James Gill and Kyle Power, who look to have settled. And that, I would imagine, for Andy Flagg is 12 penalty points and a drive-through. Colin Ward in one of the greatest racing liveries of all time, the Williams Rothman. Don't smoke, kids. It's from a long, long time ago. It's okay. For all the things they've ruined, they don't get to ruin my favourite liveries, as we see the West liveried car of Stephen Williams. So Stephen Williams closing the gap now slightly, and psychology starts to take its place, even with the great drivers like Danny and Stephen. As you get to the end, it is a choice of bringing it home or pushing every single corner. Do you keep pushing? Now, sometimes you find that if you're pushing at your 100% quali lap, it focuses the mind. But I know personally, for me, it's a risk. Every single lap that I'm on my personal limit, there is a risk that I'm going to bin it. There's a risk I'm going to make that big mistake that closes down that gap. And 0.5 seconds is nothing. One mistake from Henny here, and Williams is going to be all over it. But here's the most exciting battle. No, it's not. Oh, I thought it was the other one. No offense, Tero, Andy. So now this is Andy Flagg, finds himself back down behind Tero Tilas. I don't know who's in that turquoise car, but I can find out. Oh, that is Andreas Marafakani. So Marafakani then with Tero Tilas up ahead. We're on the wing now of Tilas. The Finn. Can he get an advantage through Stowe? That's certainly a much, much better line there. Oh my God. Oh, Tero, you had all the room in the world. Are we going to get, I don't know if we're going to get a replay of that, but it does look like Marafakani made a mistake and was going wide. And there was a gap for Tero to go through, but I don't know, we'll see. Perhaps Marafakani tightened the line after that mistake. Stephen Williams then. This is for the lead. We've not seen much of the leaders, and rightly so. There's been so much going on in the background. But Stephen Williams on the outside of Brooklands, and you can certainly carry and hold your speed here. But there's not much you can do into Luffield unless you're going to hold the outside as well. But no, it's a much more conventional line, maybe a little bit of a later apex to now try and get a run down to Cox, because nothing ever goes wrong when people overlap down to Cox. 0.2 seconds. With 2.5 laps to go. Surely this isn't a place. Don't do it. Don't do it, Stephen. Brake earlier. Get that runner down into Maggots and Beckett's. Neither car caring about track limits there. As we go on the chase cam. Oh, this one looks more like telly. In through that fast right-hander. Maybe a little lift as we see them come over the lip, braking down into the left-hander and then hooking it round and carrying as much momentum as you can into the right-hander and down to the hanger straight. And now it's all about, do you have enough toe? Well, he's a little further back, and obviously Henny thinks it might be an issue with toe because he's weaving around everywhere, and that doesn't quite give Williams... No, he's not close enough here. Very well matched through Stowe. The gap has come down to the cars ahead of Daniel Cook, recovering from that spin and that contact in Brooklands. And we see Matt Rumpet. Oh, this is the scrap for 20th place. So whoever finishes 20th ends up on pole for the F3. Molden into Stowe. Late apex, which he misses as we jump on board Stephen Williams again with 3 tenths now. But that looks like a good run. That looks like a very good run into the gearbox of Henny. So now there's nothing between the two. You could not fit another car between those two as they head down to Brooklyn's really defensive line from Henny. Very defensive, does not want to be on the outside into Brooklyn's. And so the same as the last lap, Stephen Williams can give himself a little bit of a run into Luffield. Can't do much about it in an identical position, bothering the left wing mirror of Danny Henny. On the nose now, Stephen Williams as we go into Copse. Again, Henny defensive. So Henny knows he's in a fight here. And he's being defensive, so big lift, so you've got to take an early apex and try and rob Williams of the momentum. I think he may have dawdled on his accelerator pedal there, Mr. Henny. I suppose you're entitled to do that, but it's tricksy. Williams now got the bit between his teeth. He is going for it. Neither of them here is going to say, well, you know, top two's good going into the next few rounds. They know that every point is critical. Henny. I was going to say, it did look like the hanger straight. It was a very early and defensive line, so he's defending shadows a little bit there as they go around to collect the white flag in a few corners' time. Andy Flag on Marafakani. Marafakani really giving Tim Ellis something to think about, which is a great compliment to Alexandros's driving. Ellis, no mug at all. And down the inside, let's see. So we've got Jose down the inside of Matt Trumpets. That, no offense, Matt, that should be a no contest when it comes to pace. Jose obviously on his way through the pack, but then Trumpets, we have to have a look at that. So now Trumpets under threat from Molden. This is critical. This is for reverse grid pole. No one wants to finish 21st in these races as Trumpets gets down the inside and goes wide. So that should be it. So that should be Trumpets losing that position. Now we've got Molden in now 20th place. If I've done my maths correctly, which I'm not sure, the timing screen disagrees with me. Stephen Williams has the momentum, gone out of his push a little bit further behind this time at Luffield, and you definitely can overheat the rears on this F4 car. That may be it, and it's not just the physical toll or your tyre wear. There's an emotional toll to pushing from behind. And there's an emotional toll to knowing that you're on the limit or over it. I want to see how many incident points Danny has, because not one time have I seen him take that Copse exit the right-hand side of the white lines. Snodland still with a mirror full of Alex Smith. James Gill off in the distance. Consolidating that third place. The gap's come down between Gill and Power. I think Power will be disappointed in this one. He's out and out. He doesn't rate his out and out pace. So he'll probably tell people he's happy, but I think he was in the mix at the beginning of the race. Williams, you're not even trying now. I know Danny's done it. We're going to have to make some rules, I think, for these track limits. We do have the rules. You get a 1x, and you can protest it if you gain an advantage from it. But no advantage was gained as Danny Henny, three-time iRacing champion here for Missed Apex, crosses the line in first place with Stephen Williams and then James Gill and other championship contender Kyle Power. Great race from Snodland, Smith and Greenhow. There was attrition to be had there, and the plodders behind me and Colin Ward managed to bring it in an 8th and 9th, and we were delighted with that. And there's a good recovery drive from Daniel Cook there. Will have been disappointed not to cash in. That is your top 10 for the F4. And we move quickly on to the Formula 3. Look how well behaved everybody is being. See how they don't do a silly crash just because it's sim racing, and they finish very mindful. And also Uncle Steve tells everybody off if they don't do it, because we want the broadcasts to look professional. Danny Henny leads Williams. James Gill with a great result there in third place. Kyle Power may be disappointed with fourth. Snodland, Smith, Greenhow, Ward, and me. And the 20th place did in the end go to Matt Trumpets, who will start on F3 pole.